Behind the Shades.
I'm an osteopath. I've been practicing as an osteopath for about 12 years now. I'm also an advanced yoga teacher, and I teach breathwork meditation, and I also work as a coach, one-on-one with people, but I also work one-on-one with other healthcare providers, helping them build their businesses and understanding their mindset blocks and their limiting beliefs to help them progress in whatever goal they have, whether that's financial, business-wise, or in their personal lives. So my main goal is to provide healing and peace to people and just give them that empowerment so that they're not having to rely on professionals like myself all the time. They can start feeling empowered to take those choices and those steps on their own.
So take us through the genesis of how you got into that. Usually some people get into it because they've gone through a personal experience that they want to figure out and say, hey, I need some help. I don't know how to find the help. I can't do it alone. Maybe I need someone else because my brother and sister, they don't understand. My parents are like, suck it up, buttercup. If you're going to cry, we'll give you something to cry about. So how did you get into it and why do you continue doing what you do?
Well, I became an osteopath. I had a few injuries. I used to dance when I was younger and I had a few injuries. And osteopathy really helped me with my injuries. So I fell into it that way. And then during the course of my career, I've been lucky enough to have work overseas. I worked in New Zealand, Australia. Before I went to work in Australia, I was offered a job and the contract fell through and I'd saved up all this money to go abroad. And I thought, okay, what is my other dream that I've always wanted to do? And that was to become a yoga teacher. So I signed up to this course in Thailand to do an intensive 200-hour course. And the day after I signed up for that, I was offered a different job in Australia that was due to start the week after I finished my yoga training. So it was kind of like things were aligning for me, and I needed to let go of that idea of I needed to, get this full-time job to get a mortgage, all that rubbish. As soon as I let go of that, all these opportunities came up. So I went to work in Australia as an osteopath and a yoga teacher after my first training. And I kind of had always wanted to live by the sea, in the sunshine. I love the sunshine, and teach yoga, work as an osteopath. And I did actually eventually, in the 2 years of Australia, through lots of uphill struggles at times, financially, different jobs, difficult bosses, etc. I did finally, at the end of the 2 years, have everything I thought I'd ever wanted, but I was like deeply unhappy, like really depressed. My sister had just given birth to a beautiful baby girl in England, and I really felt like I was missing out. And I was just really unhappy. And there was something in me that was just sick of my own, I'm not allowed to swear, but sick of my own poop, basically. So I decided I'm going to move back to the UK. There's something not right here. So when I moved back to the UK, I just knew I needed to work on myself. So I took some time. I had some CBT therapy, some counseling. And things did slowly start to improve. I got to focus on being with my family, reconnect with old friends. I think you always make friends when you go abroad, but sometimes you just miss those really deep-rooted connections and family and friends. And then I was only home for a few months before UK went into lockdown, actually. And during that time, Instagram Lives were like a huge thing. And I started to get into listening to coaches talking. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And I started to read the books they were talking about. I followed a couple of people that really inspired me. And I thought, I'm gonna become a coach. So I signed up with this course called Inner Leadership Academy, which is quite an intense 6-month course, and became an NLP practitioner and a coach. And then through kind of speaking, through my coaching, I was offered other roles, I'm an ambassador for an osteopathic community, Osteo Allies, and I give mindset talks on limiting beliefs to them. I've run workshops on stress and anxiety and how it affects physiology in the body and the steps we can take to move forward. I was running live meditations and yoga classes on Instagram during lockdown. And basically, all these doors started to open up for me. I always knew that physical pain, it wasn't just that. You can never just massage and crack someone's back and it's going to be completely fine. There's always going to be emotional issues attached to that, psychological issues attached to that, especially with chronic pain. Understanding why people aren't getting better and why they're perceiving their pain as maybe greater than other people without chronic pain would. Understanding what it means for them to have back pain. Maybe they can't lift up their kids. Maybe they can't go to work. That means financial stress. Maybe they care for an elderly parent and actually having back pain means they get a bit of time off. So I always knew there was more to just physical pain. And then bringing in the yoga and the mindset stuff, I could really start to explore the emotional and psychological part of pain and people's illness and give them the tools such as breath work and meditation that they can do at home and help their healing a little bit quicker and maybe go a little bit deeper with their healing. I think when you give people the steps, do the healing on their own and they can start to take accountability for their recovery, it's just a huge shift. That locus of control, whether external locus of control, someone else is going to fix me, internal locus of control, I know what I need to do to move forward. Just giving them the tools so that they can shift that mindset and take accountability for their recovery and their actions just helped me basically show people how they can move forward. And it really helped me bring a lot more healing to people in different capacities, whether that's through coaching, yoga, breath work, or osteopathy.
When you were going through your feelings of missing out because there was these celebratory events around you, right? Like your sister's having a child, there's all these changes, you're being presented with a good job after good job after good job. But then you decided that something was still missing. And then you started to reach out to coaches through observing them, the Instagram Live you mentioned. And that's a good point because I think many of us during the quarantine session, during the lockdowns, we discover things about ourselves that maybe we didn't know was actually there. And then we begin to create this person that we thought, you know what? I'm used to my life like this. And that Kat is thinking, what if I did this? Because I'm starting to feel that's more of me. Were you able to discover more about yourself during that time where you thought, I'm missing out. Let me go back home where it's familiar and let me rediscover a passion of mine?
Yeah, definitely. I think coming home and having some therapy helped me realize all the moves I've been making were from a place of escapism. I wasn't moving because it was moving me towards my vision. I was moving because I didn't want to deal with what was there. So I think recognizing that the next move I needed to make was from a space of empowerment, not from running away, was the biggest shift for me. Doing the work myself, realized it was because I didn't know how to set boundaries, specifically with saying no, especially as a healthcare practitioner, an empathetic person. I'm taking on everyone's stuff, probably to the detriment of myself. And that just led to a load of overwhelm, which probably caused me to move. Like I'd lived in New Zealand for a year before that. And I'd come home again. And then I'd gone to Thailand, Australia. And even though I don't regret it at all, because it was an amazing experience and I learned so much, I realized coming back and just kind of like hermiting away and just focusing in on myself without all these external things around me helped me see actually I was running away from stuff rather than running towards something I really wanted. So yeah, I think definitely having that time to hermit away. Like I was unable to work for 3 months during lockdown until osteopathy got classified as healthcare. So I basically had nothing else to really think about I sort of distanced myself when I first came back because I knew I needed to do some healing anyway. So almost, you know how monks go away and they go to their monastery and they don't have any external worries, essentially. I just sort of hermited away, did loads of yoga, meditation, workouts, listened to loads of philosophy coaching. And it was really kind of a perfect timing for me to discover things and help me move forward. And I did have to let go of a lot of things. Like I let go of friends during that time. I realized, well, old cat, like party cat, maybe that would make me feel a bit rubbish about myself. And it was difficult because they'd been friends my whole life and, you know, had a lot of memories with them. But I realized that they weren't aligned with me. And every time I hung out with them, I'd end up feeling not so good about myself. So it wasn't always like a smooth transition. But once I was able to let go, the people who've come into my life now are much more aligned, and the lifestyle I lead is much more aligned. I rarely drink, you know, the occasional wedding or whatever, but it's not a massive part of my life anymore. I'm vegetarian. I do teach yoga all the time. I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, and I definitely feel better about myself. I don't have that guilt, or I'm not comparing myself. I don't feel like I'm sort of the sidekick in my life anymore. So yeah, I think it was kind of good. Sometimes you have to come home to just reconnect and sort your shit out, essentially, so you can move forward. You can't be moving all the time. Sometimes you need to stop and rest, get your ducks in a row, and then we can move.
I know for some people, that's exactly what they wanted. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what they need. See, for many men, that place that you described is a toilet, right? We do some of our most profound thinking there. We try to figure things out. When we have a newspaper, we're on the John, and we're like, okay, I'm going to save the world today, but I need to sort out what I need to sort out, because a lot of men do their thinking there. And you raised a good point where, as you began to align yourself with certain ways, with certain beliefs, with certain actions, unfortunately, some people didn't make the cut, right? From your friends to your family to your acquaintances. And I like to put people in three categories. You have people that you know that are there for you whenever you're in need, right? Let's say, for example, Kat, you were in a situation and you needed guidance. You have that type of person that you can call. And there's the type of person that anytime there's a party, anytime there's alcohol, you have that friend. Johnny down the street, okay, Kat, you want to go to a party Friday night, Saturday night? He always or she always has a party for you to go to. And then there's a friend that you don't see every day. You don't talk every day. But when you do communicate, it's like nothing has been missed. Mm-hmm. And they show you a type of love that we always need, because whenever something is going wrong in your life, they seem to pop up, right? They seem to be there. They seem to be that ear, that voice in your ear. So when you went through all that and you came back home and you realigned yourself with the appropriate people, with the appropriate behaviors, you went vegetarian, no more drinking, you're not partying like you used to, things of that nature, right? How much of that, Kat, are you putting into your work when you're helping customers or your clients, sorry, who are experiencing physical pain, but we know that the source of it sometimes is something that's going on in their life, maybe on an emotional or mental level?
Yeah. So it wasn't all in one go. Like, I'd been a vegetarian for about 6 years, and I'd always been quite an avid gym goer. Maybe sometimes I was exercising again to avoid stuff. So I had to bring that back into a level as well. You know, like, it's okay to have one night at home. You don't have to be in the gym every single day, twice a day or whatever. So just bringing that into level as well. How do I help people with that? Sometimes all it takes is asking questions, to be honest, such as what would it mean for you to not have this pain in your neck? How would you feel if you didn't have this back pain? How would that make you feel? What would you be able to do? What do you think you'll be able to accomplish if you didn't have this back pain? How would it make your life better if you didn't have this pain? Just sometimes kind of getting people's goals, but kind of asking them and listening to them talk. Most of my information I get is from listening. I just ask a really simple question and listen. And I think that's a really powerful thing for people. Quite often people don't have the space to be heard properly. They're always putting other people before themselves. Women, maybe, mums, fathers. We're always putting someone before us. People that care for parents, teachers, any healthcare providers. It's really, really common thing. So I basically provide a space for people to come and say whatever they want. I ask a few sort of key questions, and then all I really do is listen. And what needs to come up comes up usually, and maybe I'll just emphasize what they've just said, so that they can really hear what they've said. And then I think that's when it hits home, right? People are like, I'm just so tired. I'm like, pain is tiring. It's exhausting being in pain all the time. Just reaffirming that, like, of course you're tired, you're in pain all the time. That's okay to be tired. It's just like seeing the shift in someone's face, like, you're listening to me, you're understanding me, is a huge shift. Helping people understand that when they're stressed, they feel pain more is the bigger shift. Helping people understand the physiology in the body when they are stressed or anxious, and why they're getting all these weird symptoms. Just explaining that to people, that lifts a lot of pressure off their mind. And when this weight is lifted from their mind, they've got the space to start healing and to move forward, because now they understand the steps that they need to take to move forward. They understand why it's happening and how we can change it.
So, Kat, so when you mentioned that they're feeling this pain because they're stressed, because things aren't necessarily going the way that they would want it to go in their life, do you have the type of conversation where it's like, I'm going to help you with this, but you may want to figure out what exactly is keeping you in a state of always being in pain and always being stressful?
100%. So part of my treatment is lifestyle advice, e.g. work stress, is a huge one. I'll even talk to them about their work setup, their computer, their mouse, whatever. I'll ask them if in their workplace, if they've got someone who can come around and adjust their desk situation. I'll ask them about, are they taking regular breaks? Do they get up once an hour, have a walk around, have a drink of water? So all of these things, like, I always ask about exercise, like, what type of exercise are you doing? What exercise would you like to get back to? They quite often, I don't have to even ask. They'll tell me once they start to relax. People tell me what's going on in their lives. It might be stress with children. It might be stress with partners. I think you'll find when you give people space to talk, it naturally comes out. And just saying something like, wow, that must be really hard, or do you think that will change soon or anytime soon? Asking those small questions and then giving people space to voice that out loud is quite impactful with healing.
I do yoga myself. And this is not for me to plug for, hopefully you can give me some free services, okay? But I do it myself, and I found that it was such a beautiful and relaxing way to start my mornings.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I get up, it's something that I do, and I love the stretching aspect, as well as and I think you get into this, the breathing, like the breathing techniques, right? And I was speaking to one of my friends today, and I mentioned to her that last year I had stress at work, stress in my relationship, stress at home, So there wasn't a place where I can go outside of the toilet where I wasn't experiencing stress. But then I found a stress reliever when I got back into the yoga. And then I found it helped further when I got back into when I started going to the gym more. And the combination of having an outlet to relieve my stress definitely helped me. And it put me on the path to figure out how to reduce the stress that I was experiencing in those three areas.
Hmm.
Is that something that you walk through your clients where you're saying that this is an outlet for the stress, but as you mentioned, if you ask them, if you just talk to them, maybe that can help them to reduce the stressors that are coming from outside as well.
Yeah, I think, well, like you say about your toilet time, a really powerful thing for me is if you have a car, it's basically a soundproof box, right? So if you're having a really bad day, you could just do a big scream and no one's going to hear you or think you're a weirdo. You're all good. What I actually practice before I go into a stressful environment, whether it's a business meeting or I'm going to be meeting with a client who's quite hard work, I take a deep breath and a really long exhale, like a sigh. So I'll just sit and I'll do that a few times to bring my nervous system down. So when we're in this fight or flight kind of, we're getting ready for battle situation, one, we're going to be more reactive to what anyone says. We're not going to really be listening properly because we're ready to pounce or run away. So by doing this long exhale, it brings in the other part of our nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is responsible for rest and digest. So I always think about parasympathetic like a parachute, slowing down, because the first thing that goes when you're stressed is your sleep and your digestion. Okay. So by doing our long exhale, you'll see when a dog runs around or whatever, when it stops to rest, it does this big yawn, a big sigh. And that's nature's way of bringing your parasympathetic system back into play. So by doing these deep exhales, we bring our nervous system to a more level state. And then we're able to go into whatever situation we're going into more level-headedly. And then we're now able to respond instead of reacting. So even when I'm in a stressful situation and I've done my breaths, I'll just take a pause before I answer, just to think to myself, breathe out, take a moment, and then reply. I think as humans, we think we have to be accessible all the time. And it's actually okay, you respond when you're ready. Because when we take the time to respond, we respond better, more level-headedly, and probably more productively with what we really want to say rather than a reaction. So the first thing I would say to anyone is really practice those exhales at the start of the day before you go into work, before you go into a stressful situation, before you reply to someone. Another thing I practice with all my clients, coaching clients, yoga clients, osteo clients, is diaphragm breathing or belly breathing. Most of us in modern life, we breathe up here in our neck and shoulders, and we have this muscle tension in the neck and shoulders. Why? Because we're not breathing properly. These muscles, the scaling muscles, were only ever designed for accessory breathing to help us get in a tiny bit more air so we can run away, we can flee, we can fight. Really, our primary breathing muscle should be our diaphragm muscle, which is this huge muscle under our rib cage. And we don't really use it properly. So another thing I practice with all my clients, wherever they come in, coaching, yoga, osteo, is diaphragm breathing. So just getting people to put their hands on their belly under their rib cage and start to really send your breath, press your belly out as you breathe in into your hands and exhale all the way out. So I get people to do that 10 times before bed. What this does, it retrains your breathing to how we're supposed to breathe. Singers, opera singers, they all breathe through the diaphragm because this helps us get full inhale of air into our lungs. It's a much more efficient way of breathing. And it takes the pressure off these scaling muscles, the upper ribs, where most of us hold tension and then end up getting tension headaches, etc. It's also great for asthmatics. Stress triggers asthma a lot of the time too. We have this huge nerve called the vagus nerve in our body that innervates our heart, our lungs, and a lot of our organs. And that's often like a really common symptom of anxiety is heart palpitations, stress-induced asthma, IBS. The list goes on, but basically it's from this naughty nerve called the vagus nerve. It shouldn't really be naughty, but because of how our modern life is, we haven't trained it properly because we're not breathing properly. We need to take the pressure off it. So we breathe into our diaphragm 10 times before bed. A lot of people find that's a really good way to fall asleep when they do that belly breathing before bed. And slowly over time, it starts to retrain our breathing, the automatic way of how we breathe. Our muscles on our neck start to relax. We get less upper back pain, or maybe get less cramping, reflux, and digestion because our diaphragm muscle is working properly and it's not tight and constricted all the time. So my top 2 tips are these long exhales and this diaphragmatic breathing for anyone.
I just did that when you're explaining it, and I felt my stomach or my diaphragm expand. And although it felt a little unusual because I guess it was my first time where I'm so focused on my breathing, it felt really good. I felt like I was getting so much more air and I was using less energy to get the air.
Yeah, more efficient. Yeah.
Are there any other things that we can do, activities in our day-to-day life that you believe is beneficial, especially for those who are like, let's say, working from home like myself, who are sitting all day? We want to make sure that we release some of the stress that for a lot of us starts in the neck and works its way down.
Yeah, there are some great stretches to do. I do think getting up once an hour is key. Like go to the toilet, go get a drink of water. Even if you just do like a child's pose, a cobra for a few seconds. There's some great postural exercises online. The one I really like for desk work is to just sit on one hand and drop your ear the opposite way and then look down towards the ground for 30 seconds and then do it the other side for the neck and the shoulders. I think bringing awareness to your breath is great. Another practice I'd recommend for everyone, not just working at home people, anytime they're feeling down, is to bring yourself back to gratitude. So I have a gratitude practice I do every day. I think of 3 things I'm grateful for every day, whether that's a person, a situation, something that happened. Sometimes it could be that the sun is up. Sometimes it could be that my body is healthy enough to go to handstand class today. It could be that I got a lovely hug from my beautiful niece. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Once we start bringing awareness to the little things in our life, like how lucky am I that I get to go for a walk today in the sun? Not everyone gets to do that. And this is a practice I do every day. And at the end of all my yoga classes, I always say, think of bring into your mind 3 things you're grateful for today. And that's a huge, huge practice. If I'm having, not necessarily now, but when I was in those darker times, I do that really consistently a couple of times a day. Every time a dark thought would come into my mind, I think, I'm so grateful I've got a roof over my head. I'm so grateful I've got, a loving family. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to learn or read this book, or I have the ability to go out for a walk, or I've got my lovely dog giving me cuddles, loves me unconditionally. And I'd really, really be disciplined about it. And even though I'm not in those dark times now, it's a practice I carry through with me. And I think it can really help people.
Was it difficult for you when you first started doing that to find 3 things that you're grateful for, Kat?
Do you know what? I could always find something I was grateful for. My mind might flick back in terms of like, I'm so grateful for my lovely family. And then I'd be like, even though they always want something from me, it's like the conscience or like the darker side of the conscience. But once I started to realize that that's not the truth, that's your ego talking. Once you start to cut that out, the dark voice quiets down and you're able to focus on the lighter side. It is a discipline. You've got to keep working. Maybe it is more difficult when you're in like a dark place, but keep practicing it. Do you know what? If that voice creeps in saying, but this, find 2 more things you're grateful for. There's always going to be something you're grateful for. It could be anything. I'm so grateful that my friend texted me today. I'm so grateful that I have two hands. Like, I'm an osteopath, a yoga teacher, whatever. If I didn't have hands, how would I work? I love working with my hands. You know, one of my worst nightmares is that all my teeth fall out. Sometimes I wake up and I'm so grateful I've got all my teeth. You know, I think there's always going to be something you're grateful for. And if your dark words are creeping in, find two more things you're grateful for.
Oh, yes. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my teeth, because I like to smile.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that great?
And
yeah.
Yes, let me touch them. Oh, yeah, it is. It's very good to have them. So for the next generation of people who are coming up and they want to do what you do, right? They want to help people in the way you're helping them. What advice would you want to give them in regards to starting that journey to help the world and save the world, like how Kat is doing?
Okay. Well, my first advice would be, don't try and do stuff how other people do it. I broke myself the most stress when I tried to live how other people were living. You know, I took on a full-time job working, teaching for a while because I have a PGC as well. And I thought I had to do this full-time job to get a mortgage. And, you know, that's how people move forward. They get a house, they get a partner, blah, 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 blah. And I was the most unhappy I've ever been. So my word of advice would be, don't worry so much about what other people are doing. Do what brings you joy. So osteopathy is a 4-year degree at university in the UK. If people are interested in being an osteopath, I think in Canada as well, now they've just changed the rules, so it's more in line with UK, but I know America is different. So it's a 4-year degree at university, and you do 1,000 hours in teaching clinic as part of the degree. It's very anatomy, obviously, and science based. And then you start to get to work with people in real life. Yoga teacher, you could do it numerous ways. You can do it slowly over time, or you can do what I did and jet off to somewhere like Thailand and do an immersive course for a month. I'm the sort of person that has to be like really in stuff to keep focus. I need to really be immersive and chop everything else out. So it depends how you work. And to be a coach, I signed up with Inner Leadership Academy. You can find them online. My coach is Callum Hardingham. He's a really interesting guy. He started out as a PT and now has huge business. So those are 3 different ways you can become all the different things I do. But I think it's kind of cool, maybe a better way to find out what excites you, what makes you passionate. Everything I do, I'm passionate about. When I start to lose love or passion, I find something else I'm passionate about and read and listen, and I just get super into it, and that ignites that flame again. Don't do something because you think you should. Do something that like excites you, that lights that fire up behind your eyes, that just brings you passion and joy. Because if you do something because you think you should, it's just a job. But if you do something that you're really passionate about, it never feels like work. Like, I love going to work. I love turning up for things like these podcasts and talking to people like yourself. Like, I'm excited to do it. I never have a thought that I'm like, oh, I have to go do that today, or oh, I have to go teach yoga. I'm like, yes, I'm so excited to teach this class. I'm excited about my playlist. It's gonna bang. Like, I'm always excited to go to work, and it makes, even though the hours I do for other people are long, and I do work some weekends or evenings, I'm really happy to do it. So I definitely think, find what brings you joy, what excites you, and then really follow that. I think how you were talking about helping people is doing something of service. So obviously I help people maybe more in a traditional way, like physically, or through yoga mindset. But even these podcasts, like, this is a service that helps people. Music serves people. So if you can find your passion and you're working towards serving people and bringing them healing or peace or empowerment, just finding your why, and why you want to do this. How is this going to help the world, help others? Just finding that why and why you want to do it is more powerful than, say, I want to become an osteopath. If you don't know why you want to do it and it's not giving you passion, there's no point doing it.